Nope. Welcome back to the doctor's office. I was literally about to just start into the thing. I am Dr. Kaori Knight, here to give you your proper diagnosis and prognosis and everything comics and comic book characters. And today, we are in Pride Month, and we are going to start off with one of our Pride characters. And this is going to be Minkoa Khan, or Koa Khan, aka Ghostmaker, from DC Comics. So, welcome back to comic book characters you may or may not know about. So, Minkoa was the son of a wealthy Singaporean who was involved in trade and exports. And when he was young, he was diagnosed by a psychologist as a psychopath because he was unable to feel empathy or fear. His family ended up being physically threatened by the super rich and super wealthy Midas family until they sold their company to them. When they did that, Koa had witnessed one of the members of the Midas family shoot his mother dead in front of him and his father. And from that point on, he was determined to make them feel the same worthlessness that he and his father felt at that time, as well as his mother when they shot her dead. And he wanted to become a crime-fighting vigilante. At 15 years old, he began his training in a street fight against this jaded brawler who ultimately ended up beating him. And he took pity on him and told him that there was a temple that he could go to start his actual martial arts and everything training up in the Paektu Mountains in North Korea. And it was run by somebody named Takibi Kagiri. Karigi. God, Jesus. Help me. He swore that he would never let anybody take pity on him again and hopped on a freighter kind of as a stowaway that was going to the North China Sea so that he could go to the temple. The South China Sea. Oh my God. He was the South China Sea. After he started his training at this temple, he ended up running into Bruce Wayne, who had also come to the temple to start training. He had been traveling around the world and everything like that, and he had the exact same goal as Koa, which was to become a crime fighter. And Koa actually introduced himself to Bruce Wayne by the name Anton. The two became friends, knowing that they shared a similar goal. So Koa and Bruce Wayne ended up spending the next 11 months studying under Kirigi and learning literally every form of martial arts from around the globe. Around this time, Bruce had decided that he was going to leave the temple to continue his training, and Koa suggested that they leave together and use the list of experts that Bruce had created so that they could continue their training together. Initially, Bruce was like, no, I want to do this on my own, but he had a change of heart after he and Koa had defeated these students who were sent after Kirigi. And they defeated them, and then they decided to leave and start their training or continue their training together. They ended up going to Moscow, and they were looking for a former KGB FSB officer named Avery Oblonsky. And they ended up taking down that FSB office, and when they were caught, they were jailed and tortured for 13 days. After the two attempted to break out, they were stopped by Oblonsky, who let them know that them being jailed and tortured for the 13 days was a test for their mental fortitude. Okay. And offered to continue training them, and he basically trained them in all kinds of spy work, espionage, and everything like that. And they would often compete against each other in Oblonsky's exercises, and it actually turned out that Koa was better at the art of seduction. Interesting. One of their assignments that they had was to get a couple, I believe it was an American couple, out of jail for marijuana possession. And while, Bruce was going about it the hard way, Koa had simply bribed the cop to let them out, and he ended up beating Bruce in the process of this, basically like winning over this assignment. Their next assignment was to go into the U.S. Embassy and steal a book that had contained SVR safe houses. And while Koa did manage to get the book first, Bruce was able to pickpocket the book from Koa in the end. Koa and Bruce then ended up leaving and going to spend time in the snowy mountains of India, training under a tracker, was named Queta. They were helping him bust opium distributors and gun runners, and they were eventually joined by an assassin in training named Rhea, and Rhea and Koa ended up starting like a brief relationship. Their next training course took them to British Columbia, where they started training under a man named Luca Jungo, and he was a marksman expert and was recommended by Oblonsky. They ended up spending weeks training in archery to hone their marksmanship skills, and not Oblonsky, but Jungo was telling them a story about how when he was training to be a marksman and everything like that and was with the government, that they were never to use their skills to kill anyone. And so he was trying to instill this in Bruce and Koa. When they were doing their training exercises, Jungo noticed that Koa liked killing animals a little bit too much and deduced that he was actually a psychopath. And when they went out hunting one day, Jungo held Koa at gunpoint, afraid that he was going to use his skills to become a killer. This being Bruce's friend, Bruce panicked and disarmed Jungo and shot him in the arm. And then Koa took this opportunity to shoot Jungo in the head and kill him, which horrified Bruce even more, and Bruce attacked Koa. Koa was able to subdue him and called Bruce a coward, basically saying that he didn't have what it took to take care of criminals for real. He's not wrong. He's not. Anyway, instead of killing Bruce, he simply knocked him unconscious and left. Over the next few years, Koa would do his traveling and training alone, occasionally running into Bruce wherever they would happen to meet, because they both, of course, had the same list, and they would go up against each other to test their skills. However, Bruce would be besting him in combat, and Bruce would later say that after he turned 20 and then on through his 20s, he was winning these combat bouts every time. And eventually they ended up trying to go to the same knife thrower expert to try to learn from him simultaneously. As they continued on in their training, they started going to like the same people, like one behind the other. And Bruce had actually realized that he had killed one of their trainers because he had realized that he was training a psychopath, the same way that Jungo had realized it as well, tried to kill him, but Koa had killed him first. They continued to train under the same people. When he was training under someone named Miguel in Rio de Janeiro, about like spy driving or some shit, Koa tried to kill him by cutting the brake lines. Did not succeed. When they ended up going to Shanghai to train under the same person for grappling hooks and scaling buildings, he tried to make his final attempt to kill Bruce by cutting the grappling hooks, but of course he still was not able to do so. They ended up going to the same person. His name was Captillo, and he was training them, and Koa tried to go up against someone named The Still, and he was beaten almost half to death, but Bruce Wayne was able to defeat The Still as well as Captillo, and they ended up going to Dubai so that they could try to find Ra's al Ghul and train under him. When they finally did run into Ra's al Ghul and Talia, they started getting martial arts instruction from him as well as Talia, and just like continued to learn their martial arts and hone their craft. They continued on with their training until they were paired up against each other because Ra's al Ghul felt like only one of them was worthy to become his heir, and after Bruce defeated Koa, Koa warned him that he had WMDs. So he went to go and sabotage the WMDs, and Koa saved him from actually being killed in the explosion. The two of them sat and talked, and they came to an agreement to not operate in a city someone else is operating in. And basically, Bruce was telling him, stay your ass the fuck out of Gotham. Despite his nature and their disagreements, Koa did still care about Bruce Wayne and felt that him trying to take on this singular, like this responsibility by himself would just completely destroy him because he can't save everybody. Not that he fucking tries. But he stopped him in Argentina to try to talk to him and appeal to him and have him like, why don't we go to South Asia together and destroy all of these criminal underworlds, and then once we have the resources and everything, we can go handle Gotham City. And Bruce Wayne was just disgusted, like, how dare you? And it was just like, you're doing too much, because he's kind of right. And as we see, Bruce don't be doing a damn thing in Gotham City but beating up crazy people. Anyway, so again, they came to the agreement that Koa would not set foot in Gotham City and Bruce would not set foot anywhere Koa was operating. Taking the name Ghostmaker, he initiated his plans, and he did stay mostly in South Asia, where he was literally getting that body count up there, killing all of these criminals and not leaving a speck behind where authorities could like even halfway identify him. And at some point, he actually ended up running into Bruce Wayne, who had followed a Gotham criminal there to South Asia. But he unfortunately had to keep to the agreement that they had, and Ghostmaker was going to handle this criminal because it was his territory, and Bruce had to leave. And while Bruce was talking to, I believe it was Nightwing, he was telling him that while he doesn't agree with the methods and the things that he goes about in doing all of his crime fighting, he did miss them being friends. Now, around the same time that Jason Todd was killed by the Joker, Ghostmaker had killed a couple who was a criminal couple called Mr. and Mrs. Menace. And they had a son, and they were like, who is going to look after our son if you kill us? And he was like, I will. And so he killed them, took their son, and like he raised him in a mansion, gave him tutors and chefs, like all kinds, everything he could ever actually need, and trainers, and trained him all the time. He stayed in the mansion 24/7. And the boy essentially was just like, he felt like Ghostmaker saw an opportunity to make a better sidekick than what Batman had, and that he was just being used as a one-up prize, which does not sound wrong. He continued his training, and he eventually became Phantom 1, but the psychology and everything that Ghostmaker was trying to teach him was not something that you would teach a rearing child, and it just felt over the top and out of place as training for a child. So they ended up going up against a villain named Palladium, and Phantom 1 had rushed ahead, causing an explosion, and he ended up being trapped under rubble, which had Ghostmaker at this chaotic choice. So the choice was to either save 10 civilians or save Phantom 1. And the 10 civilians were entrapped because of Phantom 1's impatience. And so in his mind, it was very simple math: save the 10 civilians. So he saved the 10 civilians, but by the time that he came back, he was Phantom 1 was trapped under more rubble and really couldn't be found. So this led him to believe that he had been killed. So whether it was losing Palladium or angry and feeling guilty about losing Phantom 1, he killed Palladium. He was not getting away. And then he ended up running into Bruce Wayne again when Bruce Wayne came to see him and was like, hey, do you want to work for Batman Inc? And he was like, what the fuck did you just say to me? Was essentially insulted by this, and it led to another fight. But he did end up getting his revenge that he wanted to begin with when he came up against the Midas family and killed Madame Midas and mocked her with the same words that she mocked him with. Now, after the Joker War, Ghostmaker took it upon himself to step foot into Gotham because he was disappointed in how Batman was taking care of the criminals there. Anybody would be. And he decided to like spread his ghost net to see like the infrastructure of the criminals in Gotham and come up with a plan to basically get rid of them. And he kept running into a man named he kept coming across a young person named Clown Killer, who was also basically a psychopath and was going around killing people, but he was also endangering civilians. And Ghostmaker chose him to be the symbolic representation of Bruce's failings as a crime fighter. Upon his arrival into the city, he killed all of the Grinners, which was a gang of Joker supporters, and blew up their headquarters called the Smile Bar. Clown Killer, or Clown Hunter is actually his name, was going to blow up Harley's apartment, and Ghostmaker went there to basically try to kill him, but Bruce showed up and was like, no, and they ended up getting into a fight. And he was like, this kid is a fucking teenager. He watched the Joker kill his parents 5 years ago, and Harley Quinn was there for that. That is literally why he's coming after her. But I would rather rehabilitate him than kill him or imprison him. And of course, Ghostmaker is like, you have not changed. What the hell? So he ended up tranquilizing Harley, Bruce, and Clown Hunter and trapping them in a room in Arkham Asylum with Clown Hunter being unrestrained. However, and he was trying to force Bruce to handle the situation. However, this plan did not go accordingly because Harley was able to break out of her bondage essentially and get through to the kid to tell him that, you know, she's trying to change and she's trying to atone for everything that she's done. And they were able to have a breakthrough. And Bruce was basically saying that his work is never going to be done. But he doesn't believe in killing the people that can be saved as long as they can be saved through rehabilitation. And Ghostmaker is like, I guess. And they came to the agreement and he intended to leave. But Bruce realized that he was going to need some help with Gotham being so rapidly changing and asked him to stay. Only if he didn't kill. And Ghostmaker took this as a challenge because killing is his thing. So he decided to stay. The first major case that the two of them had worked on was dealing with the Unsanity Collective, which was basically like stealing technology. And while Bruce went to go find the leader of the Unsanity Collective, Ghostmaker went to go save Harley Quinn from the police and bring her back to their hideout called the Haunt. And he was intrigued by Harley, so, he was asking her about her past and how she was able to get through all the things being a killer herself. And they were talking when they were interrupted by people who were sent to help Batman. And it was Bella Garten and Oracle. They all eventually went to go help Batman, and after saving Batman from Peacekeeper 1, they found out that Scarecrow had been manipulating the Unsanity Collective all along and sent out to destroy him basically. They end up saving the Unsanity Collective. They end up sending Scarecrow back to prison, and then Batman recruits Ghostmaker to train Clown Hunter, and after they help Batman defeat Firefly, Clown Hunter and Ghostmaker end up leaving Gotham to start their training. So later on, feeling like the world has changed way too much, Batman asks Ghostmaker to take over as leader of Batman Incorporated, which rightfully so is met by anger from the members of Batman Incorporated, because what the fuck are you doing? But okay. His first mission as leader of Batman Incorporated was taking down the rest of Lex Luthor's experimental crime fighting groups. First stop was Kazbek, which they discovered that Lex Luthor was funding a scientist who was performing experiments on Kazbek citizens, and they ended up running into Grey Wolf as well. they were able to shut the program down, and Ghostmaker had invited Grey Wolf to join them. Ghostmaker and Batman Incorporated Ghostmaker and Batman Incorporated had participated in the war that was happening between the League of Shadows, Talia al Ghul, Deathstroke, all of them. And it was happening between the League of Shadows and the Society. And Ghostmaker was protecting the Society inside of the Haunt. And Clown Hunter was told by Ghostmaker to fight 6 League of Shadows assassins on his own while they were protecting someone named Black Spider. He was doing really well, but Ghostmaker ended up having to step in before one of the assassins had killed Black Spider. Deathstroke ended up showing up after launching a direct attack, and Ghostmaker and Deathstroke went at it. Ghostmaker was essentially like winning at first, but when Deathstroke threatened to kill Clown Hunter, Ghostmaker backed off. Ghostmaker, Batman, Robin, and Batman Incorporated ended up following the League of Shadows to their headquarters in Nepal, and they ended up getting into joining the fight between the League of Assassins and the Society and defeating them, basically. And he actually also ended up running into a previous romantic partner of his named Angelbreaker. When the true orchestrator, Geoforce, was revealed to be the one to start the war between Talia and Deathstroke, Angelbreaker ended up leaving, like fleeing, like this was not her type of shit. But before they could get involved in or encased in any of the destruction that was happening around them, a Ghostmaker ended up getting Batman Incorporated out of there. Now, as for his abilities, he has like acrobatics and archery. He also has computer hacking. He's very efficient in firearms. He's efficient in interrogation as well as intimidation. He's also a really good investigator. And he's really good at martial arts. He has defeated Bruce Wayne a few times, but also being bested by Bruce Wayne. His top 2, though, are boxing and ninjutsu. And I do have him in here for Pride Month because he has had an on and off again relationship with 2 people, Angelbreaker and Catman. And he feels that being with men and women is like a form of meditation, so he just does it. But those 2 are 2 people that he has been on and off involved with multiple times on different occasions. Lucky because Catman is fine. Anyway, Ghostmaker is a very interesting character. I do like that they used Ghostmaker to dive into the background of Bruce Wayne, and like Bruce Wayne actually had a fucking best friend essentially, and I like that they, you know, dove into his background. But also when you get a character who is like this really well written character, it kind of sucks because they're so well written and then they're connected to someone from the main roster, so Batman. Every time they bring in somebody who's actually like really, really cool, it always ends up being somebody who is related to either Superman, Wonder Woman, or Batman. And it's like they can't just be. They have to be related to, in some way, shape, or form, to the Trinity. And I just feel like that's so unnecessary. But they use that as like a catalyst to explain why Bruce doesn't kill people, when in actuality, you're just proving the point that somebody who does what Bruce does, but more efficiently because he kills people. And then we get to where he's taking up how Bruce does things and shit just hits the fan. You know what I'm saying? It's not really proving your point that Bruce's method is the best one. I do like this character. I think this is a really interesting character, and I do wish that they would use more of him, but not being related to Bruce Wayne. I think they just need to cut that for like a good while so that we can get more development on him, where it doesn't, like, his development does not count on being in close vicinity to Bruce Wayne. But other than that, happy Pride, and I will see you guys next time when you come in for your checkup.